Have you ever wondered how fast you can move in Terraria? Well, if so, you clicked on the wrong video. But if you want to know how slow you can go in Terraria, this is the video for you. A player's movement speed can be altered by many things like status effects, armor, accessories, and environmental effects. While most of these things increase player movement speed, a number of them decrease it, which is what we'll be focusing on in this video. I will combine everything I can to achieve maximum slowness at the end of the video. Stick around to find out just how slow you can go in Terraria. The first thing I had to look at while trying to achieve maximum slowness is what kind of environment I should be in. A player's default movement speed is 15 miles per hour. A player's movement speed is decreased when they are wading through liquids. Here how much they affect movement speed. Honey slows more than water, lava, or shimmer. Wading through honey brings my speed to a measly 4 miles per hour. But that's just liquids. If you have ever tried to make a road across the sky or wanted to know how fast you could move, you would use asphalt. But the opposite effect is created with honey blocks. While walking on honey blocks, you achieve the same speed of 4 miles per hour. If you combine honey while walking on honey blocks, you go about 1 mile per hour. This speed I am beaten by a snail and very slightly slower than a worm. Cobwebs drastically decrease the movement speed of the player even more. Fortunately for me, they break only a second after you walk through them. This requires them to be constantly placed in order to have a repeating effect. Using honey blocks, cobwebs, and honey, I'm able to achieve a speedy velocity of 0 miles per hour. At this point, I am getting lapped by the worm. As I said earlier, in addition to environmental slowness, status effects can also be inflicted on the player to change their speed. There are a total of 6 debuffs that alter the speed of the player, although one of these effects, Dazed, is not obtainable in a normal playthrough. So here are the other 5. The first is Chilled. This can be obtained from these enemies, but I found it easiest to obtain by standing in water in the ice biome while in expert mode. The opposite end of the spectrum is Burning. This is inflicted by standing on meteorite, hellstone, or hellstone brick. The last 3 debuffs are given solely by enemies. Slowness I will obtain from wraiths. Weakness will be afflicted on me by the corruptor. The last debuff is Oozed, which happens when the player is gooped by the goop that the ogres like to throw. On the surface, this may seem to be as slow as you can go, right? Well, not quite. Using a special loadout, you can become even more useless. Unfortunately, you can't decrease your speed with accessories, since unlike weapons, they only receive positive reforges. Now we move on to armor. Out of every single piece of armor in Terraria, there's only one set that reduces player movement speed, this being the Vortex armor. While the set bonus of stealth mode is activated, you are 66% slower, among other, much more useful buffs. Crazy enough, you can actually use weapons to decrease your movement even more. Using either the Brand of the Inferno and shield, or the Sergeant United shield, you can prepare to block an attack. While you hold your shield up, your movement speed is decreased heavily. In order to get all the debuffs, this required a complicated system. Here's a quick summary of how it works. The original plan was to get hit by a corruptor for weakness, start out the Odlin's Army event, and get hit by the goo ball from the ogre. As soon as I do, I teleport to our tester, and I immediately equip myself with slowness from an automatic wraith statue. As soon as I have slowness, my partner starts placing cobweb, and I drink all my potions that help me survive longer in the contraption, and then fall into our contraption through the honey and onto the hellstone, chilled water, and honey block. I then walk directly into the cobweb while holding up my shield and being in stealth mode. But there were some tiny problems. The goo from the ogre only lasts 15 seconds, which is not nearly enough time to make it back to the tester. I only got it for 15 seconds! Oh, I don't think this is working. Alright, that did not work. I just decided to skip that step and not apply goo. Also, even with everything else equipped, I moved so slowly that I actually die from the burning before I can even move a single pixel. So, to conclude, the maximum slowness is unable to be obtained in vanilla Terraria, because the player dies from burning, and oozing and slowness don't last long enough for any movement. If you guys want to try this challenge in your worlds, I think you will definitely need mods to achieve it, both in order to keep the debuffs for longer and make yourself invincible. However, we can still calculate about how fast I was moving. Using rough estimates, we can estimate the rate at which the player moves while everything is equipped, and the final result is astonishingly useless. I start by finding the combined speed of honey blocks, the sergeant shield, and vortex armor while in stealth mode, since this speed can be found at any time. With these things equipped, I move at a speed of 1 block every 11 and 1/3 seconds, or 0.088 blocks per second. When we apply slowness, we get 0.044, then oozed 0.015, burning 0.0075, chilled 0.005625, weak 0.00506, and finally cobwebs for a very small number that I'm not going to pronounce, which is our final speed. Here's where things get interesting. This speed means I move at 1 frame every 1 minute and 44 seconds by my math, meaning it would take me 51 minutes and 51 seconds to move a single block. For reference, at this subatomic speed, it would take me 7,258 consecutive hours, or 10 months, to cross a large Terraria world, which is still less time than my brother has logged on his iPad. This pace converts to about 1 mile in 2,281 hours. If I estimate my mailbox is 100 feet from my house, this means it would take me just over 3.5 days to retrieve the mail in real life. Whew. That's a lot of numbers. But with all this highly sought after information, you should now be significantly better at Terraria and have no problem at all killing Moonlord on Master Mode. Thanks for watching.